When you think of a racing game, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Mario Kart? Crash Team Racing? Maybe even Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed? For me, it's none of those. When I think of a racing game, I think of Diddy Kong Racing, baby! Anyway, we're talking about Disney Speedstorm today. In case you're unaware of what Disney Speedstorm is, it's essentially a free-to-play, live-service game like Fortnite. But instead of being a battle royale shooter with the likes of Goku and Hatsune Miku, it's a mascot kart racer featuring characters from both Disney and Pixar franchises. Ever wanted to see Mike Wazowski pulling off a sick drift? Well, now you can! All things considered, the racing portion of this game is, dare I say, pretty good. However, it's ultimately dragged down by everything that encompasses the racing itself, such as the In Disney Speedstorm, the controls are as follows. You use the left stick to steer, top button uses an item, left button makes the car jump, bottom button activates boost, right button slows the car to a stop, left bumper is to drift, and right bumper is to accelerate. Now, if these controls sound painful to you, they are. Or at least if you're playing on a Nintendo Switch in handheld mode like moi. You see, most mascot kart racers will typically use the right button for accelerate and use the bumpers for extra actions. Because while having to hold down one of the bumpers while stretching the same hand to also press the four main buttons isn't awful, it can definitely get a bit uncomfortable at times. What's more, the game only gives you two control layouts to choose from in the options menu. And neither of them make it any less painful because they're insistent on keeping accelerate on the right bumper no matter what. But not to worry, whereas Mario Kart has the likes of auto acceleration, Disney Speedstorm has a toggleable function called Touch Drive. And if you guessed that Touch Drive was going to be helpful, then you're right. That is, if by helpful, you mean an AI that plays the game for you and only gives you control over the items and boost. That's right. By toggling Touch Drive, the game not only auto-accelerates, but also takes away all steering control from you. Okay, that may be a little of an exaggeration. Although you can't steer your character directly, you can press these symbols that appear in the middle of your screen when getting to a specific point on the track. Pressing these buttons will tell the AI driver what route to take, whether it be through the regular straight path, which is typically chosen by default, or the infinitely more helpful boost pad path that gives you some extra speed. Essentially, Touch Drive just turns the game into one of those Netflix choose-your-own-adventure shows. Only instead of watching Puss in Boots traveling through a storybook, you're just watching Hercules barreling down the road in his Tesla. In addition, this function can be pretty finicky. If you press a route option too late, then the AI won't have enough time to adjust, and you'll just be sent down the default path. And given that this is a racing game where you'll undoubtedly be going fast, you have pretty much no time to react unless you know exactly where and what you're going to press as soon as the options appear. Overall, Touch Drive is a pretty awful mechanic. If you like racing games, then having an AI do the actual racing for you is just boring. And if you don't like racing games, why are you here? Go play Animal Crossing or something. Pretty awful controls aside though, you're probably wondering what exactly I mean when I refer to the boost in this game. For that, let's go ahead and talk about The racing in this game is fairly simple, all things considered, but there are some unique gimmicks and items here that make everything a bit different from your run-of-the-mill kart racer. One such gimmick being the boost meter. The boost meter is a bar at the top of your screen that slowly builds up by doing, using, or touching certain things during a race. These things range from drifting to stunning enemies, and even grinding on rails. And once your boost meter is full, simply press the boost button and you'll give yourself a free short speed boost. What's neat about this mechanic though is that your boost doesn't just last for a specific amount of time. You see, after your boost has been activated, your boost meter will begin to drain, and your boost will end once the boost meter runs empty. However, if you do or touch certain things like drifting and boost pads while you're in the middle of boosting, then your boost meter will slow down or even sometimes refill itself, effectively lengthening your boost for much longer. With this being the way that the boost mechanic works, it's safe to say that you'll find much more value in saving your boost when you're in an area with lots of boost pads and turns for drifting, rather than just blowing it as soon as it's ready. Though while we're on the topic, I'd like to introduce you to the first of many items in this game, the boost skill. Now, unlike other kart racers, Disney Speedstorm actually introduces a new mechanic for its item system as well. While you can just use the item normally, you also have the option to charge it up for a different effect, or sometimes even throw it behind you for even more utility than you'd expect, which I'll get into with a couple of the other items. For the boost skill specifically though, by using it normally, your boost meter will fill up instantly, while using it charged will net you a much larger amount, but the boost meter only fills slowly over time. On top of that, if you use this item while your boost meter is already filled a bit, then it'll overclock your boost meter, giving you a longer boost by default. I'm not going to go into too much detail over all the items in this game, simply because going over every detail would make this video 10 minutes longer than it needs to be. So instead, I'll just give you all a rough breakdown of each item, using Mario Kart items as comparison. Firstly, we have the Rush skill. Pretty basic item akin to a mushroom, not much to say otherwise. Next, we've got the Bomb. Again, pretty basic and akin to a bomb, though you can charge it up to throw it further, so that's cool I guess. Then there's the Cloak skill. Similar to a Boo, but doesn't steal an item and just focuses on giving you invulnerability for a few seconds. And if you charge it, it'll send out a shockwave that stuns nearby opponents when the period of invulnerability ends. And here we have the Shield skill, which is one of the more unique items that doesn't have a direct Mario Kart counterpart. As the name implies, using it will protect you from a single hit of someone else's item. But if you charge it, then you'll instead get a bumper that's capable of stunning a single opponent after ramming into them. Finally, there's the Teleport skill. It's pretty similar to a Bullet Bill in the sense that it's mainly just there to help whoever's in last place to catch up, as it'll just teleport your character forward a short distance along the track in an instant. Now, there are actually 3 more items left to talk about, and these are what I consider to be the best offensive skills in the game, so I'd like to talk about them a bit more than the others. Firstly, there's the Shot skill. This item is essentially both this game's green and red shell. If you throw it normally, it'll bounce off walls until it either hits an opponent or bounces too many times and disappears. However, if you charge it, then it'll lock on to an opponent ahead of you and track them down like a homing missile. As for the Hack skill, it pretty much has the same green and red shell attributes as the Shot skill. But rather than stunning opponents, it'll just invert their controls for a few seconds to disorient them. On top of that, the Hack skill has an extra utility where throwing it behind you will place it down on the ground like a banana peel. Both of these items are really good for screwing up any players ahead of you, no matter how far ahead they are. Their only real weaknesses are the defensive skills like Shield and Cloak, much like any offensive skill. But if the person doesn't have one of those, then you can essentially get a guaranteed hit. And actually, finally, we have my personal favorite item, the Fire skill. Similar to the Shield skill, there's not a single Mario Kart item I could even think to compare this to, just because of how unique it is. If you use it normally, your whole car will burst into flames and stun any opponents you ram into. If you charge it, then a shockwave of fire will burst out and stun any opponents nearby. And lastly, if you throw it behind you, then your wheels will catch on fire and leave behind a fire trail that stuns any opponents who touch it. With how much utility this item has with 3 different uses, it can be super handy with dealing with large crowds of players, no matter what place you're in. All in all, these 3 items are the pinnacle of this game's skill system. However, I lied again! There's actually still one more item in this game I haven't mentioned. Before I get into it though, let's first talk about In Disney Speedstorm, all characters have their own unique stats that give them all their own edge in a race. For the most part, that is. Considering the never-ending pile of Disney and Pixar characters there are to choose from, a good amount of them are pretty similar to one another, with only a few outliers here and there that are either much better than average or much worse. However, when it comes to the stats of characters, they are very much irrelevant as far as I'm concerned, and I'll explain why a bit later. For now, let's go back to talking about items. It's important to know that not all of the items are available to you via playing a single racer. Every character in this game has a set of 4 out of the 9 items that they are capable of getting, excluding the teleport skill which any character can get. So for example, Mickey Mouse can only get the bomb, shield, shot, and rush skills, while Meg from Hercules can get the bomb, boost, cloak, and fire skills. However, if you look at these lists of items for each character, you may notice this golden orb-esque icon here. This is the actual final item left to talk about, the unique skill. The unique skill is obviously a bit different than the rest of the items I've talked about so far. It's essentially a completely different item unique to every racer, and is typically the best thing they each have in their arsenal. Let's use Dash from The Incredibles as an example. When used normally, Dash's unique skill will supercharge him and give him a speed boost anytime an opponent passes him. But if you charge it, then he just straight up jumps out of his car and runs at top speed for a temporary amount of time. I've always been a fan of kart racers that give each character their own unique item like Mario Kart Double Dash, so I think this is a really neat thing that they included here. Now before I move on, I just want to go on a quick tangent about a couple things. Firstly, I just want to talk about how the cosmetics in this game are god-awful. The best way I can describe the cosmetics is that it's oops, all Overwatch common skins, in the sense that it's just all palette swaps for their outfit and car and nothing more. And secondly, why aren't there any Cars characters here? You'd think for a Disney Pixar racing game, it'd be a no-brainer to include the characters from the movie all about cars and racing, but they're just not here. Hell, they only just recently added Tron characters, and this shit came out 2 years ago. Just give me Tow Mater, you fucking— But anyway, let's get back on track. Say you want to play as a character like Jessie, whose top speed isn't all that great. Thankfully, there's actually a mechanic you can use to buff up specific stats in the form of crew members. Crew members are essentially unlockable characters that weren't important enough to be actual racers, so they're instead just equipable chips that will boost specific stats for a racer. What's interesting about this feature though is that crew members can only be equipped onto characters from the same series that they're from. Meaning that Beast can equip Mrs. Potts to get more top speed and acceleration, but Mr. Wreck-It Ralph over here cannot. And the reason why this mechanic is so abysmal is because of one simple reason. In case you're still wondering why I think this game is complete garbage, despite having mostly praised it thus far, then this is the section where I will make my reasonings very clear. Seeing as Disney Speedstorm is, like I have mentioned, a live service and free-to-play game, the way they make a profit to keep affording new content is via the in-game store where you can exchange real money for in-game currencies. And in Disney Speedstorm, there are 4 kinds of currencies you can get. That's right, it's one of those games. The first of the 4 that I want to mention is Vanity Tokens. You get this currency simply by ranking up characters in the ranked mode of the game, and is used purely to open cosmetic gacha boxes. So, given how shit the cosmetics are, they're practically worthless. The second currency is easily the worst one in the whole game, but it's necessary that I talk about it first so that it can help you understand some of the points I have on the last 2. The upgrade token is the result of by far the worst mechanic of any multiplayer kart racer that I've ever seen. You can get them by a whole lot of means, whether it be by ranking up characters or through certain events. And if we go and take a look back over at this character's stats screen, you'll notice this option down here to upgrade them. Doing so will consume some of your upgrade tokens, as well as some of the character's chips, which are the things you need to collect to even unlock characters in the first place. This will then buff up one of their stats permanently, and if you upgrade them enough times, you'll have a significantly more powerful racer than before. The reason this mechanic sucks, I think, is pretty self-explanatory, and is the reason I said base stats at all were pretty much irrelevant earlier. Obviously, by upgrading your character enough times, you'll eventually end up with stats that'll make you practically undefeatable against lower level opponents in ranked mode. But it also sucks the enjoyment of the game out of every other contender who just has to deal with the fact that they have no chance of winning, simply because they don't have the tokens or chips to raise their level to your standards. And just so you're aware, there's nothing stopping a level 1 racer from encountering a level 20 racer in ranked mode. I had to learn that the hard way. Now remember the unique skill I talked about and how I said it was pretty much the best thing in every character's arsenal? Well, you can't even use it until the specific character you want it on is level 20! Not only that, but the unique skill as well as every other basic skill can all be leveled up to have better effects the higher your character's level is, giving you even more of an unfair advantage, because fuck having balanced gameplay, am I right? But that's not all! The problem with this feature is only enhanced by the presence of the last two currencies, tokens and seasonal tokens. Let's start with the seasonal tokens. Season tokens can be collected by playing the seasonal single-player mode of the game, which will give you these tokens as prizes for completing specific challenges within specially made races against CPUs, such as winning the race and going through X amount of boost pads. You can also obtain them via the Battle Pass, which you can earn EXP for by completing seasonal missions. And once you have enough, you can use them to open seasonal gacha boxes for the chance to unlock specific characters. And here's where things get a little fucky. The further you get in the seasonal single-player mode, the more it becomes required for you to upgrade your characters in order to beat certain levels, eventually leaving you hard stuck until you can somehow get more of the required chips and upgrade tokens to do so, thus cutting you off from getting any more seasonal tokens from them until you do. Of course, you could always get more from the Battle Pass, but even there the amount of EXP you can get from the seasonal missions is severely limited. During the season that I was actively grinding the game, I was only able to get about halfway through the Battle Pass before the only missions left were either luck-based on what track the game sends you to in a match, or even worse, required the use of a character I've yet to unlock, making them entirely impossible to complete. And even despite the day's worth of grinding out all the seasonal tokens that I possibly could, I ultimately only ended up with enough to open 5 seasonal boxes in total, none of which even gave me a single character chip for Vanellope von Schweetz, and instead just supplied me with crew members for the Wreck-It Ralph series that I could not use because I don't have a Wreck-It Ralph character unlocked to equip it to. But this raises the question, if I've gotten all the seasonal tokens that I realistically could, then how the hell was I supposed to get more? I would need a better way to reliably get more character chips and upgrade tokens so I can get stronger, right? Well, my dear viewers, let me introduce you to the final and most prominent currency in Disney Speedstorm, the token. Tokens are essentially the V-Bucks of this game in the sense that they can be used to unlock pretty much anything in the game so long as you have enough of them. Similar to vanity tokens and upgrade tokens, regular tokens can also be earned simply by playing the ranked mode of the game. However, you get them in very minimal amounts. For every time a character ranks up in ranked mode, you'll get 5 tokens. In addition, you also get an extra 5 tokens when the same character ranks into a new league, which occurs every 5 levels after the first, meaning you rank up to silver at level 6, gold at level 11, and so on. The highest ranked level I've personally been able to get a character up to is level 22 with Dash. After that, pretty much every race would end up getting filled with players who had upgraded their characters far above mine, making it physically impossible for me to beat them and get any decent amount of ranked EXP. With this in mind, let's do a little bit of math. By reaching level 22 with Dash, I went through 4 leagues, netting me 20 bonus tokens. Other than that, we can simply multiply 22 by 5 and get 115. This means that by reaching the best level I could with my strongest character after about a week of grinding, I was able to save up 135 tokens in total. Now then, let's go ahead and see how many gacha boxes I can afford. Dear God. Okay, so it looks like my week's worth of hard work was practically worthless. Of course, if I'm really that desperate to play the game on equal footing with everyone else, I could always just buy my way to the top instead. In fact, why even bother with gacha boxes that'll most likely just give me more useless crew members that I can't use when I can just buy chips for a specific character of my choosing for 5 times the price? I love pay to win, don't you, loyal viewer? Jokes aside though, if you really wanted to unlock a specific character instead of relying on unreliable gacha mechanics, then your choices are essentially to either spend a year grinding for tokens, or spend $20 to get 2,400 tokens in order to afford a specific character chip pack. As far as I can tell though, these packs will most likely only give you just enough chips to unlock the character, meaning that if you want to upgrade them and make them stronger, you'll still have to spend even more money on top of that $20. Doing a bit more math, that essentially means my week worth of grinding was equal to the worth of $1 from my wallet. And just to prove a point, I actually grinded out enough tokens while making this video to open up a gacha box. So, let's see what I get. Yeah, that's about what I expected. I don't typically play live service games, so I'm actually not too sure how egregious these prices are in comparison to similar games. But at the end of the day, pay to win equals bad game design. With enough money, you sure as hell can get more than enough character chips and upgrade tokens to rise up the ranks, even if you really didn't earn it. But now that I've thoroughly explained everything that needed explaining, what have we learned? Now, despite all of the big issues of this game, I didn't subtitle this video "The Racing Game That Should Have Been Good" for no reason. I said at the start that I genuinely thought the core racing of this game was fun and unique, but that's actually not all the praise I have to give this game. There are still 2 other components to it that I haven't talked about, each enhancing the love I have for what's here even more. These 2 things, of course, being the tracks and their music. Not only are most of these tracks fun to play on and look amazing, but another unique thing this game does is give every track a variety of layouts, each with their own unique turns and obstacles. And thanks to the friendly racing feature that allows you to play in a private lobby with friends, you can willingly choose what track you play on as well as its length. And don't even get me started on the music. Every song you've heard played in the background of this video is from Disney Speedstorm, and provides surprisingly good techno remixes of classic Disney songs that I had no idea could even work as techno remixes until I played this game. If you want to listen to the OST for yourself, just go to the playlist in the description of this video. It is shocking to me how much love and care it felt like the devs put into this game. And it's genuinely such a shame to see it dragged down into the gutter purely because the company who funded it got greedy. And just for the record, I'm not making this video to tell you not to play Disney Speedstorm. If you're a Disney and/or Pixar fan who loves racing games, then by all means you should give this game a try. However, what I will ask of you is not waste your money on in-game currencies. While it may be tempting, giving in to microtransactions like this only empowers companies to partake in the same business practices with future games. These kinds of pay-to-win games should be the exception, not the industry standard. So don't incentivize them with profit. Well, unless of course you're looking to unlock Oswald the Lucky Oh, Jesus! Ew. Who gave you teeth? Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. In case you couldn't tell, this was my first time making a video like this. I have plans to make more in the future alongside my actual gaming videos. So if you enjoyed this one, then it'd mean a lot to me if you liked the video and subscribed. That's all. See you later.